Wait, here she is.
There she is.
Yay.
There's some Canadians at the front door who wanted a ride somewhere.
Canadians?
Yeah, for real.
All right, can we go ahead?
Oh, Canadian geese.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. They were just right out there on the front door.
Saw them
Okay.
out
Commissioner
there.
is
Saw
on.
them.
He's on?
Yeah.
Okay,
We are live.
all right,
Okay.
we're live, good.
Okay.
I'm gonna call to order the Legislative Committee meeting of March the 4th, 2026. I'm Dave Albritton, your committee chair, and I'll let our committee members introduce themselves, starting with my left.
I am Councilmember Deborah Fix Sanders, City of St. Petersburg, PSTA Chair.
Councilmember Patty Reed from the city of Pinellas Park.
All right, thank you very much, and since we're here, I'd like someone to make a motion to allow Commissioner Nowicki to participate by Zoom.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Welcome,
Thank
Beth.
you. Welcome.
Okay,
Glad you got here.
good. Now we got some people here. So first action item is approve the February 4th, 2026 minutes. Do I have a motion?
Wait,
I'm sorry, could you just call for public comment, even though there's nobody here, but just so we have. it
Oh,
on
I'm sorry,
record.
I jumped around.
That's
All right,
okay.
do we have public comment?
No, I don't have
Okay.
anything.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a correction.
Yes.
Minutes. Could we put U.S. Representative before Congresswoman Castor's title, as well as U.S. Representative before Congresswoman Luna's title to distinguish?
U.S.
And,
representative.
and Castor is C-A-S-T-O-R.
Yeah, right. All right.
Okay,
Yes, I will make that correction.
so you'll make a motion with the corrections?
With necessary corrections.
Okay, I have a second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, so I see Ron up there. We're gonna go to Ron next for the state legislative update.
Good morning, thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members, welcome to day 51 in Tallahassee. The question now becomes day 51 of what? We're gonna be done by next Friday, but we shall see. So, let me give you an update on 3 or 4 items. Number one, let me start with the budget. A couple things on the budget is House and Senate passed their respective budgets about 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago, during end of week 6. Senate budget came in about 115 billion. House budget came in about 114 billion. They're once again looking at either reducing or at a minimum plateauing recurring spending, so that it continues to be a recurring theme. At this point, we're waiting for allocations to pop out. If allocations are not done, probably by tomorrow, maybe Friday by the latest, we will not have a budget done by March the 13th. At this point, I think most people believe we will not have a budget done by March 13th. We most likely will be coming back, later on to do that. Probably not in March. I would guess in April. But again, there's an off chance they could still get allocations, and we'll know more in the next couple of days. Some bad news is our Clearwater Ferry project is not in the budget. We had Brad and the team come up the week actually budgets were coming out. We anticipated we were going to be in the budget. We ended up not being. We had an amendment that was going to be filed by Senator Rouson in the budget. Actually, that amendment was not filed. I think there's 2 issues with that, by the way. I think number one, I think we still have some undercurrents within the delegation itself based upon what's happened over the last 3 years. I think that will change under a new governor, and also with some I think over the next 2 years with new leadership. That's number one. Number two is I think there was some concerns about on the ferry project of getting vetoed by the governor's office. So with that being said, we're not in the budget. We are working on a plan B at this point. Plan B is a Hail Mary. I'm not going to lie to you all. If there's an opportunity to get some funding at the end of the budget process, we already have talked to Chair Hooper about that. I think Brad would tell you, and Patty would tell you, I think our meeting with Chair Hooper and Senator Rouson went very well. I think they seem to be supportive of the project. I think they're willing to try to be helpful at the end of the process. But again, it's a little bit more difficult to get a project funded when it's not in the initial budget. So we'll continue to work there. Overall funding for transit in the budget, House and Senate slightly off Nothing, I don't think there are any major concerns there. Brad, I've had some conversations with House and Senate leadership on that. I think ultimately it's gonna end up where it needs to be on the higher number, so I think we'll end up fine from a transit standpoint. There is some good news, the Innovation Service Grant funding, the Transportation Disadvantage Program, which we utilize, PSA utilizes on a pretty regular basis, is funded in both budgets initially. That is great news. We're typically in one or another. We're currently in both budgets at $6 million, with another $4 million pending potentially in the Senate. So that is fantastic news. At a minimum, the $6 million is where we've been for the last couple of years. So that would be really, really good news. Two other issues that I'll mention to you. Number one is property tax reform. I know all of you care about property tax reform as it relates to not only PSTA, but many of you as local elected officials. House Bill 203 has been passed by the House a couple of weeks ago. That bill would reduce, would add $100,000 to a property tax exemption for homesteaded property, $100,000 for the next 10 years. I can tell you that bill, well, this passed the House. I think it has as an uphill battle in the Senate. I think at this point, the Senate is not going to take up that bill. And I think we feel pretty confident that property tax reform will be done at a later date, sometime in April. Let me remind everybody, congressional redistricting, there's already been a special session called for April the 20th through the 24th on that. We believe that there would either be a week added on the week before or the week after to probably do property tax reform in potentially the budget, depending on where we are from a budget standpoint over the next couple of days up here. So I will stop there. Brad, is there anything that I'm missing that you would want me to cover with the group? But I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Well, you want to make any comments about the sovereign immunity bill that you emailed me this morning? I know.
House and Senate are taking different approaches for sovereign immunity, which is how much local governments would pay out, for lawsuits. They've changed the cap that was changed yesterday in the Senate was $300,000 for a person, $500,000 for multi-incident. That's different still than where the House is at this point. It's raising it. I believe its current rates are 200 and 400, which go to 3 to 5. So there is an increase. The House rates were going to be almost double that. So I know the Senate's trying to come up with a compromise. I think the compromise right now could be the Senate bill that passed out of committee and it's going to the full floor probably sometime later this week or next.
Okay, and then the two other things I know that are on my list, and I know, unfortunately, it seemed like while I understand that there is a fix for the funding that was providing money for South Florida, the Tri-Rail down there, which had been eliminated last session, maybe by accident, that they are not going to restore the capital New Starts funding, federal New Starts matching fund. It didn't seem that that was one issue, and then the second is, again, my private sector folks are hoping to tee up the sharing of the sovereign immunity insurance caps with our private contractors for next year. I understand it's not going anywhere this year, but they wanted me
That
to.
bill, Brad, I'll start with the last one. That bill is up in one committee, as you know. We did go speak and wave in support of it on behalf of PSTA.
Yeah, thank you.
It does not. In the game plan was it was going to move only one spot. It was never going to move in the House, and you're absolutely correct. I think it's something that's going to get teed up for next year. On the New Starts program, you are correct that while there is another doc stamp bill that's out there, they do not restore that program at this point. I believe only the House had a bill, and the House bill, which the Senate pretty much just stripped everything out of it at this point. They put themselves in a posture from a conference standpoint. The New Start program is not being put back in place. They are putting 15% additional into the rail fund though, so there are some opportunities for the rail enterprise fund. So That is some good news. They are putting some dollars into that, but they're not putting any additional dollars or any restoring the New Starts program.
So it's sort of a mixed bag, I would say.
Any other questions for Ron? All right, thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
All right, next item is our federal legislative update with Harry Glenn. Hi, Harry.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, committee members, thanks for the time today. I say this every year in the March call, but the state's almost done with their budget and Congress is just starting their fiscal 27 process, so state's going to lap us again. As you recall from our last call, the Congress has finished work on fiscal year 26, the current fiscal year's appropriations bills. 11 of the 12 are signed into law, including the transportation bill, and we've mentioned in past calls the support that Congresswoman Castor and Luna have provided for the ferry boat infrastructure in both St. Petersburg and Dunedin. So that's good. And Brad, we're hearing that they're starting to send out notices to the recipients from the Department of Transportation and FTA. They're getting ready to send those out for the award and to start the process of awarding the funds. So you should hear something soon from them. Congress has kicked off the fiscal 27 appropriation cycle. Last week, the House Appropriations Committee announced a very aggressive schedule to take in requests for the next fiscal year, the next cycle. Deadlines for the committee are March 20th. Member deadlines are this Friday. So we're working with Brad and his team to submit another request to each Congressman Castor and Luna. And maybe when we're done, Brad, we can, if you want to talk about those. But that process, the committee's hoping to move relatively quickly, at least to get bills through the House and some through the Senate, and try and get some bills done and maybe even signed into law before the election in November. Likely most of the appropriations work will be resolved after the election and before the end of the year. At least that's the goal. There is conversation here about the president's delaying his budget request now until early April. They're still working on some things, and it could be further complicated by the situation in the Middle East. There's conversation about whether the Department of Defense is going to need supplemental funding to support the efforts over there. Not sure how that's going to play out, but that's certainly delaying the budget to figure out what they need to request for in a supplemental and or in the 27 budget request. So that's a delay. But I think the Appropriations Committee is going to plow right through and just keep moving on the bills even without the president's budget. The other, I guess, major news item that we're tracking for you all is that Congress is due to reauthorize all the federal highway and transit programs. This fiscal year, the current program authorization expires at the end of 2026. That's where it's placed in the law, all the funding formulas that you receive, all of the competitive award grants that you compete for, all of those are in that legislation. Big complication this year is how to pay for the bill. You'll recall that 5 years ago, during the Biden administration, there was a huge bipartisan infrastructure bill, and the highway reauthorization was carried as part of that. So that provided significantly enhanced funding levels for all the programs you're interested in for 5 years. Those funds run out at the end of this year. Congress will need to reauthorize the program. It will clearly be at lower levels than the last 5 years. The big complication is how to pay for it because the gas tax revenue is just not keeping up with the formula requirements in the bill. So the House is trying to decide if there are other revenues they can generate. One that was proposed last year was an annual fee on electric car owners. I think it was $250 a year. That didn't make it through the Congress. They tried to put that in the budget reconciliation bill. I think the House is still trying to look at that as a potential revenue source, but I think they're getting a lot of pushback. So that until they figure out how to pay for the bill and all of the formula funds that are required to be distributed to the states, the bill could be held up. Originally, they planned to mark it up in the committee this month. Not sure that's going to happen. They were hoping to take it to the House floor by May. Not sure that's going to happen, but we will continue to monitor for you and see what we can do. One item, I think it was a bit of a victory. The administration, I think I mentioned on previous calls, had recommended to the committee a provision in the law that would prohibit the redistribution of federal highway funds that go to the states to transit agencies. That was a proposal from the Secretary of Transportation. Both the Republicans and the Democrats on the House Transportation Committee vetoed that idea and said they're not going to include that in the bill, which is good. That would allow for continued transfer authority of the money the state receives, so that's good. There is conversation, I guess last item, there's still conversation in Congress and the Trump administration about trying to do another budget reconciliation exercise. If you recall, they did one last year called the One Big Beautiful Bill. They're talking about doing another one. There's still conversation about including healthcare in there. They could use it as a vehicle to pay for supplemental funding for the Department of Defense if they're needed. And they could potentially, Brad, try and use that bill to generate additional income for the highway and transit programs. But that bill's probably a long shot. I really only have between now and the end of July to get it done. And it's a very complicated and laborious process, particularly in the Senate. So we'll continue to monitor that for you. I think, unless Brad, you wanted to talk about the congressionally directed funding requests that you're planning to submit to Reps Castor and Luna, that's what I have today.
Okay, yeah. So, thank you, Harry. So as he said, I mean, we're cycling to the fiscal year 27, which is supposed to start next October 1st in Washington DC, but probably it may not because that's right before the election. And so the call for congressionally designated spending earmarks is now. And so for what we've identified in the process is we submit projects, lots of organizations submit projects to the Congress members, and I think they have a maximum. I can't remember the number. Gary, do you know?
20, Brad. And it was
20.
The last couple of years it's been 15. They raised it to 20 this year.
Okay, so and then they pick the 20 that they want to support. So for Congresswoman Castor, she's been a big supporter of the ferry, and so we're putting in a submission for $2 million for a ferry vessel, and this is for the Tampa Bay Ferry. This is right in Congresswoman Castor's district. We'll see if she goes for it or not. And then for Congresswoman Luna, we know she's a very big supporter of Bay Pines and veterans, and so we're proposing requesting funds for a veteran and other mobile customer service unit that could be at Bay Pines on certain days of the month, and then other locations. It would be our first mobile customer service unit that would sign veterans, transportation disadvantaged, other people up. We could position it in different locations, where different groups are coming to sign people up. And it would be our first time we've ever done something like that, where we have a mobile unit. I have had conversations with Congresswoman Luna about some kind of customer service center at Bay Pines, the VA, but we don't know if that will be busy at certain times, but not at other times. So this idea of having a mobile one maybe is even more advantageous. See if she likes that, and then so we're trying to get the deadline for Congresswoman Luna, I think is Friday, is 2 days from now. So we're trying to get that in to her, and I think Congresswoman Castor's is Monday. So trying to get them in with that. I don't know if your cities are. I know the city of St. Petersburg is putting in some requests, but we understand none of them are related to the ferry or conflicting with our requests. So.
What was the dollar amount on Luna's?
Pardon?
2 million?
No, that was.
1 million for Luna.
Oh, 1 million.
1 million, yeah. The only other two things, Harry, and if you want to say anything, he talked about the need to reauthorize the transportation bill, and then that is maybe delayed. The main thing that we're trying to get into that bill is the memorializing our ability to use TNCs, or Uber and Lyft. And Harry, I don't know if you've heard anything further on that. issue?
I have not, Brad.
Okay. Yeah, we've had some calls on it. I think there's another group of trans agencies that are gonna try to maybe go to Washington DC and talk to representatives. We have a little bit of a current problem in Washington with the Federal Transit Administration. The Federal Transit Administrator left, resigned, and to go back to New York and run for state legislature. And so they lost their top person, and then their longtime top staff, non-political staffer guy, he just retired. So the Federal Transit Administration is sort of somewhat leadershipless right at the exact moment. And I think that is not good for our TNC efforts, because we were working with both those folks on educating them about the
Right.
benefits of that, and so now we'll have to find whoever they appoint as new people. Last but not least, and I know I talked to Harry about this yesterday, I got an update on the acquisition of a ferry vessel from San Francisco.
Yes,
Why did you know that was my question?
that's what I was gonna ask too.
Well, again, the PSA board voted in December to authorize the Hubbards and Al and PSTA to purchase that vessel. The San Francisco authority that owns the vessel and runs the service says they cannot provide that vessel until their federal grant for their replacement boat gets approved by the federal government. And it's been on hold for now over a year since they got it. It was an $11 million grant, and it's been on hold. And then they, as you know, they requested any assistance we could provide in having our congressional delegation make phone calls to the DOT to unleash their grant so that then we could get our boat. I think a lot of phone calls have already been made, and and nothing has moved on it. What I heard yesterday, though, from the executive of the San Francisco agency is they have, I think this is positive, that they have offered the federal government that they would be willing to take the grant, which was for an electric ferry. And given that maybe the administration has different priorities, that they would instead use those funds for, if the feds would allow them to use those funds to refurbish their existing diesel ferries, and that their other diesel ferries that they have in their fleet, they would accept that. And then that would allow us to get their vessel. So I know they've had one conversation with the federal FTA about this, and they told them that because of their short staffing, because they don't have leaders, it's going to be a couple of weeks before they can get an answer on this, but it seems optimistic. And then he said, then you guys can get your vote.
Well, that would be nice.
So I'm glad that they at least have made that move on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, good morning, everybody, but I don't see anything positive about any of that. Did we know, because we've already had this conversation before, we were supposed to receive options, not tied around that one vessel.
Right.
When I hear that we're using our manpower, Harry and Ron are working for us for free. So there is a cost associated to us assisting the seller of this vessel. That are we recouping any of those fees? Probably not. So that's the additional piece to it. And again, I know we used the term, the last conversation, they're holding the vessel hostage. And that's not a good look for us. I know we're trying to move forward and we're trying to obtain the vessel, but the appearance of that is not promising for me. So I don't know if we have our options, I don't know. So, and I think this question was asked prior to, when the broker posted the vessel for sale, did they have that stipulation of the $11 million grant? They did not. And so we're still going for it. Here we are, what, 6 months later? And we're still going for it. To me, there's something terribly wrong with them putting something for sale and then saying, we'll sell it to you, but by the way, we need you to do X, Y, Z. That's problematic for me. It was when I first heard it, and it still is. And it's still problematic that we are acquiescing to that same seller. I know that it may be hard to find, no, you just can't find vessels like that, every day. But we're spending money, as you say, we're using our congressional, power to make phone calls for someone that may never even give us a vessel. It's not a done deal yet. So we're spending our taxpayers' dollars to help somebody else that we may not even get a final sale from them. So that is very problematic to me. And again, I know we had a brief conversation about options. How far are we on that? Mr. Burns, do you have an update on that?
Plan B.
Plan B, Plan C,
Al has a lot of plans, yes.
but we need to be moving forward on some of them, because I just don't think we need to be held hostage by this one seller. I really have an issue with that.
And Madam Chair, I certainly agree with you. We cannot wait forever. I just provided that update because I think maybe there might be an opportunity in the next month or so to, without any additional effort by, our legislative folks, that hopefully, now that it is between San Francisco and the federal DOT, gives hope. And I think, as Al's gonna describe all the different other options that are at play,
But they never should
it
have put
still
that on.
is a very
Yeah.
viable vessel.
Yeah, but they still never should have put the boat up for sale. I appreciate your optimism, but they never should have put it up for sale if they had strings attached.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Legislative Committee, Al Burns, Procurement Director. There are currently 5 different vessels that the agency is looking at. The Hubbards, they recently have returned from a trip to Louisiana where they're exploring other vessels. We're looking at 3 other vessels outside of the Bay Breeze that's located in San Francisco. So, Madam Chair, Board Chair, when you said, hey, you wanted options and not us to just hone in on just one particular vessel, we listened as we always do. And there are a total of 5, like I said. One is located here in the state of Florida. Another one, the Bay Breeze, is located in San Francisco. There's another one called the Candy Stripe that is located in Louisiana. Another one named the Dream Star that is also located in Louisiana. And finally, a vessel named the Renegade that's also in Louisiana. That's why the Hubbards went to Louisiana to check out those options. In regard to the Bay Breeze, I'd like to piggyback off of what Brad said. That is right now the best option from a price point perspective for PSTA, and that's the reason kind of keeping hope alive, so to speak, that maybe we that might pan out. But that's currently where we're at. There's price tags associated with all those vessels, of course, and different things at play from minor refurbishments to major overhauls from an engine perspective and things like that nature. So that's kind of a high level update on where we're at, but we're meeting with the Hubbards weekly and they are exploring the options. And Madam Chair, as you said, boat vessels like this type, they just it's not like a used car lot where they're always readily available. So that's my update as far as the vessels go.
Okay, thanks, Al.
I'll just say as you heard, Al and I drove up to Tallahassee last week and met Commissioner Reed there and went around and met with our legislators, with Ron, and before the drive up there, I told my wife, I bet the over-under on number of times that Mark Hubbard calls Al while I'm driving to Tallahassee with some new exciting boat that he's found. 3, and it was 4. He called him 4 times. Mark and Al are buddies. They like to talk about different boats all the time now. So there are certainly options out there. But they're different prices. We're trying to arrange the financing, working on that, and come to the board with a solid plan, including an operating plan on how the service would operate. 1 or 2 boats, all of it, so.
All right, well, thanks for the update. I think we're all frustrated, about it. We don't think it's right what they did because it wasn't in the agreement. But, I mean, what are we gonna do? What we decided was to go out and look at other options, which we're doing, so. That's a good thing. We'll keep our fingers crossed and see if we, come up with the best deal on any of them. So maybe the first one will come through soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So quick update. So have we been conversing with the city of St. Petersburg and those that are also vested in this ferry and what could actually happen? I don't know the conversations that we're having, but somebody may know somebody and they may have access as well as with the Hubbards and what they're looking for in regards to finding a vessel. But I just want to make sure all of the stakeholders are updated currently as to where we are with this. And again, I think we had this conversation, a month, 2 months ago? I'm trying to see when we
In
initially.
December, yeah.
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 December.
And so, I like the high level overviews, but I think we're coming because we received the money from for the vessels. When was that? It's been over a year. It's been a year, hasn't it, that we received the money for the vessels?
Well, no,
Yeah,
it was just it was last summer finally. that
Last
the,
summer. Okay, so it's coming on a year.
Hart
Okay.
transferred the
Okay,
grant.
okay. It just seems so forever. God, it seems like we're talking about this forever. But I just want to make sure that the stakeholders are very aware of what we're dealing with when it comes down to the vessels.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Yeah, I just think that that's the only right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of other stakeholders, there is some progress. We believe now we got the letters that we need from the Vinoy Hotel and the Regional Planning Council are either in hand or soon to be in hand. And that will allow the city of St. Petersburg to vote on a comp plan adjustment to allow the permanent ferry dock in St. Petersburg to be constructed and the temporary dock to be procured. And I know the city has got a procurement strategy to get a temporary dock in place in the Vinoy Basin. Hopefully by this summer, we'll have that temporary dock. And then I know we're working closely with the city on the design and construction of the permanent dock there, ultimately. As Harry mentioned, we got the earmark that we're working on securing now that provides additional funding for the city of St. Petersburg and the permanent dock through Congresswoman Castor. Same thing, we're working with the city of Dunedin because they got an earmark for the city of Dunedin for repairing and fixing their dock sword. This is definitely going to include coordination with a lot of different parties, for sure.
Yeah, and City of Clearwater has phase 2 of the whole dock rebuilding of the marina.
At the
It's gonna
beach.
include on the beach, to
Yeah.
include the ferry dock. Then I did talk to Trish about what she's using instead of the ramps. They're using some kind of, like an elevator kind of thing, that they don't have to use such a long, ADA ramp to get
Right.
80 people up on the boat, and I didn't know that, but, so,
Thank you to the city of Clearwater for purchasing those lifts. That'll make the service much more accessible
Yeah, I think so.
in a much better way, yeah.
All right, any more questions for Harry? Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
Okay, is there any other business the board needs to talk about? Okay, then the next meeting will be April the 1st at 9 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Sharon.
Good job. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Thank you, Commissioner Mikey.